Fear not, denizens, parade is here, aka the bringer of rain, aka father of the sea and sun, aka king of the core. And today I have none other than the Revenant Resistor, 501st member and cosplay extraordinaire, and also known as the Saluting Suppressor. You might know her better as Jaye. I have a special returning guest, Jaye42. How are you today?
Hello, I'm good. Thanks for having me back. I didn't scare you off.
No, you did not. It was a fantastic episode and probably the biggest return to do the podcast again. And I'm super excited to have you. The saluting suppressing thing, go to Jay's Instagram. That's when Lieutenant Agnon tried to put his hand on you, and then you...
I thought he was. He was not, that poor man. He was just trying to do the first order salute behind me. But I seriously thought he was going for a hug because we were chatting about the Star Cruiser. So that's why I'm like, hi, hanging over his water. Totally trashing the propaganda there.
Yeah. It was great. It was fantastic. But the reason why I had you on, to let everyone know, Celebration Japan is happening. And by this time, I think I'm like under 10 days of leaving. So again, this podcast is always selfish because I'm always trying to get more information from my internet friends. And I don't know really much about Japan or anything. But you do. Well, last time we talked, I said, hey, I'm going to Japan. And you said that you've lived there. How long did you live there for?
I did. So going back a bit, my very rural school offered 3 languages when I was growing up. They offered Spanish, French, and Japanese.
Nice.
And I was very much into kaiju films at the time. I was loving watching Godzilla and those films. You know, Rodan was my favorite. Watching those movies on like the Sci-Fi Channel was really exciting to me. I'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with that aesthetic, and it was kind of pre-anime really blowing up, pre-Pokemon really hitting.
Yeah.
But I had seen some intermittently, but I don't think I understood it was Japanese. So I just, little rural white girl growing up in upstate New York, wound up taking Japanese since middle school, second year of middle school through college.
Whoa.
And that meant that I was able to do a homestay in the town of Ichinohe, which is a small town in Iwate, which if you imagine the main island of Japan, it's kind of up on top there, for about a month. And doesn't sound like very long, but the benefit was I had already loved the culture, and I was able to live in a very rural town at a very formative time. I was the foreigner for the first time in my life. And that really changed how I communicated. And we had a host sister stay with us the year before for a month as well. And then I've gone back for vacations since, and I've always been interested in the language, the culture, the history. It's just something that's been a part of my life for a long time. And I know I wouldn't be who I am today without studying and kind of coexisting with that culture in a way.
Wow. Okay, so what age was that homestead? Is that what they're called? Homestay?
Homestay? Yeah. I was 18,
okay,
I believe, right around then. Yeah. And, I think it was beneficial for me because I'm still a Westerner, a foreigner.
Sure.
I can't speak to fully existing in that culture, but I'd like to try to help people who are from an American culture understand how to navigate Japan a little bit more as a Westerner, right? I can't give an inside perspective. I'm not from that culture. Sure. But I think there's things that we can learn from each other, and that cultural sharing is really beautiful. So I want people to, especially people going to Celebration who might not have ever interacted with a culture that can be perceived as very different, try to make it a little more comfortable for them. So I hope that this discussion can be a tool, and maybe people can listen on the way over or something and not be quite so nervous when they see the subway trains and go, oh boy.
100%. I mean, because there's a lot of research I did prior, mostly the touristy stuff and like how to get around and what apps to get, but not too much about like what the people are like or how too much about like manners. I wanted to kind of get some insight from people who've been there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's
And
been a lot of horror stories lately.
oh, that's there.
I think they go
Unfortunately,
viral very easily. I think misbehaving gaijin become kind of a hot topic and blow up all over the
yeah.
place. Also, the lady chasing I think she was a Maiko or a geisha down the street, and swinging off stuff,
Oh
and it's
no.
like, yeah. So, not thinking that anybody listening to this is going to behave like
No, they
that.
better not, because I will track you down and make
Yeah,
sure that doesn't
you
happen.
you're representing us Star Wars fans. Let's be good.
Yeah, let's be
Yeah.
let's be. I was telling a friend of mine. I said we're there. We don't have our same American freedoms that we do there. So we are in someone else's home. Let's act like guests. Let's have manners
Yeah.
when you're someone else's home. I was like, if you come in acting crazy in my place, I'm gonna kick you out. So,
Exactly.
please
You're a
don't.
guest, and imagine to somebody you don't know busting in. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, and ultimately, Japan and Tokyo in particular really does thrive on tourism. Right now, there's kind of an
Sure.
over tourism problem in some areas,
Sure.
but people want you there, right?
Right.
Japan thrives on people coming and spending money and enjoying things and sharing the culture, and that's something that you don't want to sour. You see some situations where people are barred from certain views because they're misbehaving or
Mm-hmm.
filming too many videos and things like that, and I would say that's the exception, not the norm, because there are plenty of tourists who are Japanese as well, who are going around and enjoying the sights. But I think more than ever, now that there's going to be such a significant influx of people who are coming for one particular event,
Yeah.
it can be a little maybe tense for locals as well, knowing that a ton of people are going to descend on the country.
Right, and then that's also on top of I think it's like during the cherry blossom season too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
Yeah.
already going to be a big influx of people for that as
Oh, yeah.
well.
Yeah. Hanami's amazing. Yeah. Really beautiful.
One question I thought of, is it as crowded as the internet shows at some points?
No.
I didn't think so. I was like, it feels like
Every time. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh, I said it feels like they're, again, like the internet does, catch a moment and they're like, oh, it's always like this. And I'm like, I don't know about all that.
If you're talking about Shibuya Crossing, yeah, it's
Sure.
busy
Sure, of
because
course,
everybody's getting off the train station to the most popular shopping district
Yeah.
in Shibuya. But I think maybe I can't remember exactly what the footage was from, but there's this very iconic footage of a train conductor shoving people into one of the JR lines
Yeah, I seen that.
with the white gloves up and just
Yeah,
pushing
yeah.
salarymen into this train. They've added trains since that was a thing. I just want to let you guys know.
Yeah.
Now, in the morning rush, it can be busy, but generally, when I was there, I would take the train just like a half hour after, because
Mhm.
most things opened a little bit later.
Yeah.
That might have changed. Post COVID, a lot of things have changed. Post Olympics, some things have changed. But
Sure.
generally, once the business rush is over, it's like rush hour, right? It's kind of over. And I think I only waited for a train once. Like, if the train is
Oh.
crammed, wait for the next train. It will be there in 4 minutes
Yeah.
to the second. Like, you don't
Yeah.
need to be like, oh, I got to cram on this train, right? Yeah.
Right. In the Bay Area, San Francisco, we have a little, we have public transportation, and they run same thing every few minutes.
Right.
Like if you miss one, you're gonna catch the next one. It's not that big a deal. I
Right.
know there's just some people who don't have public transportation that way, so they're not really used to it. I mean,
Yes.
New York definitely, right? Subways
Yep.
and things like that. So it all feels familiar. And I did look at
Oh,
like how the trains
yeah.
run. It's very intuitive, or not even intuitive. It's very just basic, where it's like letters, numbers, colors, and go that way. And I really
And the
like that.
announcements will be in English as well.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
That's what I saw.
Yep.
So I'm not too
And
worried
train
about
etiquette's this whole thing too. Yeah.
what's great is Celebration is really good about kind of conveying some of the culture about, like, they say not to dress up in complete armor, and because they want everyone to kind of like dress at the convention center, just so that you're not like causing a scene in that way. And I was trying to explain that to some friends. I'm like, yeah, it'd be kind of weird to see. Obviously, like, stormtroopers are pretty iconic, like you would know, but like if you're like a rebel troop with a bunch of like guns and armor looking like World War I, World War II, I'm like, maybe you might want to wait till you get there. And I don't think we're gonna have a problem. But I'm glad that they said that, just to make people aware, because out here in the States, like, if there's a convention, people are like, oh, that's Superman and this anime character and Star Wars. But when you're in a different country, it's not as apparent. So I'm glad
Yeah,
they did
and
that.
when I had gone in October, there were quite a few costume events happening. So
Oh,
I'd
okay.
seen a larger proportion, I'd say, a larger percentage of people in costume on the
Oh, okay.
train. But it was only when I was going to like Ikebukuro, which was having a cosplay event,
Yeah.
right? So there were people kind of going there. The only other time I saw people dressed up on the train, other than Halloween, which was bonkers. Shibuya on Halloween was everything people said it
Oh, that's
was,
cool.
and then some. To where they recently said no, because it
Oh,
was mostly. I think somebody, I think a car got flipped over, and that was on the news for like 2 weeks
no
or
way.
something like
I
that
didn't
had
know they
happened.
get. I
I'll
didn't
have
know
to
they get down
confirm
like
that.
that in Shibuya on Halloween. That's kind of interesting.
Something wild happened. It was either a car flipped over, there were like a handful of pickpockets, and that was scandalous, right? That was absolutely scandalous that somebody got pickpocketed.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what made the news. I think it helped too, being like, look at all these people misbehaving. We need a good reason to stop it. Because I will say too, that was too crowded. That was not
Oh,
safe.
okay. Okay.
From a crowd management perspective, and trying to
Sure.
reflect on what happened in South Korea and all that for the Halloween crowd crush that happened.
Mm.
I'm not against trying to at least control the crowds in that kind of situation. And there's many little rural events you could go to too. But if we're talking about people going to the event, I'd only seen people dressed up going to Disneyland as well. And it
I
was
saw that. Yeah.
generally, I'm not sure if you've seen any of the posts going around, but people really dress amazing for the Tokyo parks
Yeah.
and coordinate their outfits and look so cute. And there's a
Yeah.
pretty high percentage of people who like to dress up. I'd say more so than you see Disney bounds. Even though
Sure.
Disney bounding, I think, is on the rise here in the States, there was a pretty high number of folks because it was the Halloween time.
Oh,
And you
okay.
could
Yeah.
just dress up at the park for fun. So it
Yeah.
was really cool to see everybody dressed up on the train, and everyone knew, oh, they're going to Disneyland.
Yeah. Yeah. Do they have looser rules about dressing up at Disneyland like that in Tokyo?
So it was Halloween time, so
Oh,
you're
okay.
permitted to dress up.
Sure.
The only thing they ask is that if you're an adult, you don't dress like a cast member.
Oh, okay.
So I chose not to wear my Haunted Mansion dress, even though the Haunted Mansion dresses are slightly different there, and I'm clearly not a cast member. I opted not to, and I dressed like Gelatoni, the kitty cat there. And I wore the little ears
Okay.
and
Okay.
dressed very light because I didn't want to bring a costume
Right.
when I was there. I brought a couple little things to get some photos here and there, but I didn't
Yeah.
wear anything significant because I was kind of on vacation and didn't
Sure.
really want to work. But I think next time I might wear something else.
Okay. Okay.
At least a wig and horns or something.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool. So going back, how can one stay respectful? I watched a few videos on like certain phrases. I still need to practice.
Yeah.
But what's any good tips for like, excuse me, or well, thank you, those
Mhm.
things. I watched a couple videos about that. I wonder if you had any insight.
Oh, absolutely. I've always told my friends who are going, even learning like 5 phrases shows that you're attempting to communicate and can make a big difference when you're trying to speak with people. If you want to say excuse me, it's sumimasen. Sumimasen in a more American accent. But if
Okay.
you say that, it is excuse me, pardon me. And it's really good if you bump into somebody, you need to get by someone, if you need someone's attention, sumimasen. It's a really great way to just be like, excuse me, sorry, and that sometimes it's kind of an icebreaker for folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it can be very overwhelming of how quiet things are, I think,
Oh,
because we're
interesting.
used to louder public places at times,
Yeah.
and the trains are quiet. People do not talk loud on the trains.
That's what
People are not
they
on
say.
their phones speaking on the
Oh,
trains.
yeah.
People do not have sound on their games on the phones on the
Okay.
trains. Mobile gaming is really popular over there because of the amount of public transit.
Yeah.
So you're able to, okay, you're always going to have a 30 minute commute on your train and
Sure.
your subway. So you're going to play whatever game.
Yeah.
That's why it took off a little more over there than over here. When we get mobile games for certain franchises, we're like, huh? But it's huge over there. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the best thing you can do is be a little more observant of the people around you and emulate that behavior. And it sounds really simple, but there were times when my friends or I would get excited and someone would go, oh my gosh. And it would like echo off the walls of the train station and everybody would look. And now no one would say anything, but
Right.
it's a good sign to be like, oh, I should keep it to a dull roar.
Yeah.
Especially if it's late at night, early in the morning. It's a dense population area for the most part. But I will say that knowing that you're a tourist, knowing that if you have a couple phrases in your bag that you can say to people, it will help tremendously with just bridging that gap and showing that you're trying to be respectful and trying to acknowledge that, yeah, I'm a guest here and I want to do as the locals are doing.
Yeah. I'll definitely have to put some like sentences together, send them your way, and then ask if like, how do you say I'm here for
Happy
Star Wars? They're like, what?
That's an easy one because it's just Star Wars.
Star Wars. Yeah. Perfect.
Star Wars. Yeah, and even if you say Star Wars, that might be a little harder to understand because of those rhotic R's in there. Yeah, those are tough.
Yeah, just kind of have to put a little bit of an accent on it. Sometimes it helps. It definitely helps.
Yeah. Like if I said Disneyland in a sentence, I would say Disneylando. I would not say Disneyland ni ikimasu. Yeah.
Okay.
Disneylando ni ikimasu. Yeah.
Nice. So before we started recording and I was like, I'm kind of having a hard time asking questions I don't know or can realize before I even get there. So do you know any tips or any like things that you tell people who are going that they wouldn't know already?
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, a couple of ones are just about being attentive while you're in a more populated area and walking and being alert. So, constantly staring at your phone like this, good chance to run into somebody or something.
Sure.
Try to be alert. The big one, and this is, again, it's not a monoculture. Not every single person is going to have an issue with you doing every single thing. And the younger generation feels a little bit different than what my behaviors were when I learnred from my family. So things are always in flux. And I think sometimes there's an intent of painting Japan as just this quiet, polite society, and everybody's an individual, right? So I always try to just let people know, hey, people are people over there. Try not to like duck into Orientalism and try to make Japan some like perfect culture where everything is Zen and everything is anime. It's not like that at all. It's a multifaceted culture with multifaceted people of different generations and backgrounds and beliefs.
That's a good reminder.
So that aside, that aside, people generally in public behave a certain way. And keeping the sound off on your phone, like I said, sitting on the train, not eating on the train, not drinking on the train, being cognizant as if you get something from a vending machine, you should eat it there and either take your trash with you or put it in the bin if there's a bin there. You're not going to find a ton of bins there. Mostly because of, one of the reasons is the sarin gas attack, and the other reason is just public cleanliness. Having those public bins, you don't really see them all that much. I remember seeing one overflowing in Harajuku, and my host sister I was with looked at it, and she goes, so dirty in Japanese to me. And it was kind of full with like a cup on it, and she was just absolutely disgusted by that. No tipping is another big one. Right? So there's no tipping. There's no tipping. And another one is to not hand anyone money directly. And that goes for credit cards as well. So if you're using a credit card or yen, put in a little tray. And if you mess up, if you go to hand it to somebody, they'll just point to the tray, right? They're not going to be like, about it. That's a really good one. And it's not so much a behavioral thing, but if you don't go into like the Family Marts and the 7-Elevens and the Lawsons, you're missing out on some awesome cheap eats. So check out those kombini. They also have ATMs there, and you can get hot food there. You can get hot food, you can get toiletries, you can get all kinds of things you might need on your trip, including some pretty great ice cream. I think the 7-Eleven had the best ice cream. Yeah, because they have like the cones, like a full like soft serve cone that they give you. And we like taste tested all the ice creams. Such a hard thing we did. So much research.
I mapped out where the closest 7-Eleven was to my hotel. So I was kind of surprised how it was a little further than I would have expected, but I'm kind of outside of Tokyo. Do you happen to know the reason why people don't walk and eat? They usually just kind of like eating there, sitting down and eating. Is it like a respect thing for like appreciating the food?
Yeah, I think it ultimately goes back to that and just became a manners thing. The
Yeah.
only time I saw when people didn't care was in Tokyo, Disney Sea, when they
Oh,
had
okay.
the fabulous popcorn carts. I mean, like curry flavored popcorn, like
Yeah.
awesome flavors, and people could freely walk around and eat because you're kind of in a controlled area.
Okay.
But yeah, it's one of those things that's just been a cultural thing for a while. I'm not 100% sure. I can't speak to exactly where it came from,
Yeah.
but that cleanliness piece is really important, particularly when you're eating at a restaurant. Like to go bags are not a thing. You kind of eat what you
Oh.
get and you don't take anything home.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So there wouldn't be any leftovers. And I would always make sure to grab like a rice ball and onigiri and bring it, and like a can or bottle of green tea, and bring it up to my room to keep for breakfast the next day.
Okay, good to know.
So,
I
yep.
heard that places don't open very early. Is that true?
I found that to be the case. Yeah, but I'm also a little bit more of an early bird. My day usually starts like 6, 7
Same.
o'clock over
Yeah.
here. So we're used to Dunkin' being open and Starbucks being
Yeah.
open and drive-throughs being open. We would have to wait for some of the bakeries to open closer to like 10.
That's what I think. Yeah.
In some of the busier areas where there's more tourists, it's a little bit more of it's a little more flexible.
Sure.
Some of the kombini are open 24
Oh,
hours,
nice.
depending upon where you are. Even the kombini in the little town I stayed in was open, if not 24 hours, like 20 hours. If anything, they shut down from like 2 a.m. to like 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
But there tends to be a time where you're like, oh, things are quiet right now.
Mm.
And the quiet time was very quiet, particularly when we stayed on vacation in Minato-ku. It's a business district.
Okay.
So you would not get loud cafes. You would not get big, bright lights. It was not like Akihabara. You wouldn't have, Vocaloids screeching at you at 9 o'clock at night. Not that I dislike Vocaloids. I love them too.
What is one of your favorite things in Tokyo that you like to do when you visit?
Ooh. My favorite thing are the shrines off the beaten path.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I went to one called Takahata Fudoson. So
Okay.
that's not an easy one. But it actually was the temple of a Shinsengumi captain from the 1800s. And the Shinsengumi were these kind of renegade samurai that have been immortalized in anime. I think they're in Rurouni Kenshin
Oh, okay.
and Tokenranbu and a bunch of other things. And they were well known for wearing like these blue, beautiful howdy jackets with like white patterns on them. And they lost brutally and were killed because they were shogun loyalists.
Okay.
But they were all kind of badasses, and one of them actually died as an old man sitting in seiza position, like sitting upright. He had passed away that way.
Mm-hmm.
So they were just kind of immortalized as a bunch of morally misled badasses. And there was one temple out there that was not overrun with tourists, because a lot of the bigger temples, like Asakusa, even you think about the Gold Temple down in Kyoto, are very crowded and have a lot of Buddhist visitors, because the Buddhist temples will have a lot of Chinese mainland visitors
Yeah.
who are there because they're Buddhists.
Yeah.
And they're just very popular. And I mean, I like them. There's nothing wrong with them. But there was nothing quite like going to this more remote temple and seeing a lot of the elderly folk who were helping set up for a chrysanthemum festival the next week.
Ooh, that's cool. Yeah.
And there were little old ladies selling trinkets and tea. And we walked up a path and we found this beautiful graveyard that we just kind of stood back and admired.
Sure.
We found these beautiful jizo. They are statues. They look like little Buddhas. They're anywhere from like yay big to pretty big.
Yeah.
And the jizo are guardians of a couple different things, but travelers was one of them.
Oh.
So we left an offering for each and every one of the jizo in the row because we felt that was right to do. And I don't consider myself a very superstitious person,
Sure.
but if there's any sort of supernatural or otherworldly presence, you would feel it there, right? Like that's the place where you're like, there's a lot of history and a lot of collective, there's a vibe, right?
Yeah.
There's a vibe to these temples, and they're beautiful. And we wound up walking up a mountain path, and when we got to the top of this little mountain, it's more kind of semi-hill, semi-mountain, not only were the spiders this big, so I know where Legend of Zelda gets them from now. Ooh, they were big with the big striped yellow and black butts. Oh my goodness. When we were standing on top, now we're about an hour west of central Tokyo.
Okay.
So we're looking out, and it's just sprawl.
Wow.
And not tall, not Manhattan sprawl because of the right to sunlight laws. It's kind of a shorter sprawl as far as the eye could see. And the only thing we could hear is the train going in the distance. And we just sat there. And it was so different from Odaiba, the bustle of Diver City,
Sure.
or the arcades of Akihabara, or the tourist traps of Harajuku. You know, it's just a totally different vibe. And we loved it. We wound up having a very lucky run-in with a guy who was running a shop that I was looking for. He actually opened the shop for us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was really cool. He ran a Shinsengumi shop. He just came across us on the street. And I think the coolest part was there was a small shrine to the Inari Kitsune, which are the Inari foxes. And you've definitely seen the imagery of them before. They're white foxes with red, usually like red around their eyes, and they maybe red tipped tails, and might have some markings on them.
Yeah.
They're the messengers of the god Inari, who is of a couple different things depending upon where you are specifically, but typically the god of like rice. So these foxes are both a real creature in Japan and also a mythological yokai creature as well.
Okay.
So you don't want to mess with the kitsune because they are the messengers of the gods of these temples.
Yeah.
So you don't want to cause any trouble. And so we found this small-ish shrine that was just hundreds of ceramic kitsune. And we were so awestruck by it. It was so beautiful, and it was off the beaten path. And we actually rang the bell, clapped, threw the coins in, because we wanted good luck the trip. And I was like, I just want the foxes to know that we're here to be respectful.
Right.
And that's right after when we found that guy. And we had we had so much luck that trip, and so many things went really, really well. So we have some Inari foxes in our house now because we definitely were believers of them and love them.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Unfortunately, this trip for me, it's my first time going. I'm doing more of the touristy stuff.
That's okay.
But I was like, I tell everybody, I'm like, this is not my last trip. I'm gonna go.
No.
I'm probably
need a buddy. No.
I'm like,
no, and there's nothing wrong with the tourist stuff because the tourist stuff is fun.
Yeah.
I was dreading getting dragged to Akihabara.
Oh, really?
My wife likes anime and I like video games. I'm not a big anime person. I don't hate it. Same. It's just not my favorite thing.
Sure,
so I'm like, I'm gonna go, and it's all gonna be like little squeaky pink-haired anime girls. Like, honestly, it was great. There was people from all around the world loving this aspect of pop culture.
Yeah.
And the shops were awesome. There were really cool hobby shops. There were ones that were just gunpla. There were ones that were just ball joint dolls. There were ones that were just secondhand shops.
Yeah.
If you find a shop called Mandarake or Mandarake, which you'll accidentally read as Mandrake, that's all secondhand merch.
Yeah.
And you'll go in and you'll find like super cheap, well-kept secondhand stuff, cosplay, accessories, pins, figures.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to see like Radio Kaikan is a famous building that was reconstructed a couple of decades ago because it was falling apart. But they built just this big, brutalist chunk of a building. And inside of it is just all these little independent shops. And there's just stuff. To see, and you might have like a food stall or a food vendor. So it really felt really energizing and exciting. I was not annoyed at all. So I felt bad. I was like talking down Akihabara. I'm like, oh, this is not my thing. But then you just see how much people are loving it and having fun, and that was really cool. And if the tourist trap stuff's fun, do it. You know, I went to Odaiba, and they had the big Gundam.
Yeah,
that was cool. I like Gundam. It was really cool to see. Well, not a big Gundam, a normal sized Gundam, right? They build that stuff for people to enjoy it. So I don't think there's any shame in going to Disneyland or going to a popular temple or anything like that. It's meant to be enjoyed, and Japanese people enjoy it as well.
Yeah. I was that's my first stop is Akihabara, where I'm like,
awesome.
and the people I've been telling, I'm like, here's where I'm gonna go first, and they're like, what's that? And I'm like, I've been the same like you. Into video games, not much into anime, but I used to follow a lot of like IGN, and when they would go to Japan, they were like, go here, go to Super Potato. There's like a bunch of video games, and like I'm like, so it's always been on my list, and I have like things that I'm like looking for, like
why not?
I'm actually afraid of how much money I might spend.
It's
So, like,
yen is not in great shape right now. I
right.
just pre-ordered a plush today from Twisted Wonderland, and he was listed at like 89, 80 something, and I
Okay.
got him for like 55 USD.
Yeah.
So now's not a terrible time. Maybe it'll help their economy a bit.
Yeah.
But like even the gachapon are a blast, and they're a couple hundred yen. And I mean, I put a lot of coins into those in the UFO counters. I don't have many vices. I don't gamble. The closest I get to gambling is claw games.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay. Yeah. And those look. A
I was
blast.
winning a lot of stuff. I was like, I've trained all my life for this.
Yeah, I mean, and if people who haven't done much research, I heard that you could like adjust, like ask the staff to like maybe adjust one or two for you.
Yes, you can.
And there's a bunch of that. Yeah, and I'm not.
Yep.
I would say I'm not the biggest gambler, but I do like opening up Pokemon cards every once in a while. So
You get the thing.
yeah, and I was like the
Yeah.
souvenirs and everything. So I'm all.
The Pokemon centers were great. It was so cute to see, again, people from all around the world of different backgrounds loving this product and Japan sharing a part of their pop culture. And I think that's a beautiful thing, right? I think we kind of underappreciate how sharing pop culture can breed understanding with people. Like,
100%.
this is going back to Disney, but one of my first experiences like that was a pop culture transcending language barriers was when I was in Hollywood Studios and I had the little flip out lightsaber and I walked by this little boy speaking Spanish and he looks at me and goes, Jedi, and raises the lightsaber. And I go, Jedi, and raise my lightsaber. And that spoke worlds, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to a Pokemon Center and you know these characters, or maybe you don't know what they're called in Japanese, you can kind of have a good laugh over it.
For
and
sure.
like Kirby, if you know Kirby from Nintendo, he's huge over there.
Yeah.
The Kirby Cafe was slamming when we were there. It was so cute. We had met up with my wife's pen pal, and I asked her about the Kirby shop. They had a Kirby pop-up shop around the corner. And I said, oh, do you like Kirby? And she's like, oh, do you mean Hoshino Kabi? I was like, yeah, in America, he's just Kabi. He's just Kirby.
Gotta be. Oh,
Hoshino Kabi. I'm like, oh, sorry. My bad.
Okay, so my plan is we planned like one thing a day, and
Good.
I'm just gonna be fluid for the rest. If there's people who want to do Star Wars stuff from whoever's gonna be down there and like, hey, are you close by? Then we'll meet up. I'm just kind of like exploring and just kind of being open to finding something fun.
Yes.
And not being too like rigid with like an itinerary. Like, okay, we have to be here at 8 and we have to be here at noon and then we have to go meet for dinner. I'm just like, Pokemon Center's Monday, Disneyland's Tuesday, Disney Sea's Wednesday. So I'm planning it that way just so I can be more open and fluid about because I'm like, I'm on vacation. I also don't want to stress about trying to follow some strict itinerary.
And Disney Sea is going to blow your mind. I mean, I think we could learn a couple things about theme parks from Disney Sea. It is extraordinary. It is wild. Definitely go on Sinbad's storybook journey.
Yes.
Storybook voyage. Go on Sinbad. It has an absolute banger of a song that plays the whole time. And it has like more animatronics than in all of Disney World or something like that. It's some absurd amount of animatronics. And it's cool because they actually redid that ride not too long ago when it first opened. It was kind of just a straightforward adventure, and people were like, eh. Yeah. But then they had Alan Menken come in. They added a cute baby tiger in a turban, and they have this big Broadway banger playing the whole time.
Yes.
And you walk out singing the song. It's amazing. And they just market the little baby tiger. It's so cute.
Yeah.
It's a really fun, colorful, joyful ride without screens, and you don't see that all that much.
Right. When's the last
I'm
time?
not entirely anti-screen.
Sure. When was the last time you were there for Tokyo Disney?
Ooh, that was like 2017.
Okay, so it's been a while because it's
been a little while.
They have
fantasy. Next year.
Oh, you're going next year?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
They opened up Fantasy Springs to the public, so there's Frozen and Rapunzel, and I have a daughter, so I'm a fan of those by proxy, and so I'm excited to
go. We love them too. There was a video that came across my feed the other day of the Baymax No Happy Ride, Baymax's Happy Ride, and there's these two guys. I don't know where they were from, but they were both dressed with like Chip and Dale outfits.
Okay.
And they're doing like there's like little like BAYMAX or X. And they're like, Baymax No Happy Ride. And they're like doing this little dance and they're rocking out the whole time. And I'm like, I love this. I
Yeah,
love this for these
I
guys.
think that's probably like part of his ride. There's like people dancing all around the ride as it's going, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there's like this adorable, catchy little song going, and
Yeah.
Baymax is like, "Let's go!" in Japanese, and he's like spinning around this little song. I'm like, this is incredible.
Yeah,
We're robbed of Baymax content. I mean, San Francisco is real cute, but
sure.
like, where's Baymax no Happy Ride?
Yeah, we need
Let's
that.
get that.
We need that stuff. Yeah, I'm
Ugh.
excited to see kind of a newer attraction. I'm excited to
Yes.
see their version of Tower of Terror. There's like a bunch of stuff.
That version of Tower of Terror was so cool and also kind of hilarious. I don't know if it's changed since I was on it, but the beginning was a Japanese girl with a projector, like literally giving a PowerPoint about George Hightower.
That's probably the same.
So I'm like turning to my friends, I'm like, I don't need to translate this, right? Like you kind of like get the gist that there's like a guy and he like stole a thing and it's cursed and stuff
Yeah.
because colonizers be colonizing. And now he is cursed and he has a magic little monkey or something.
Yeah. I'm really curious about like all the different type of storytelling they have for Disney Springs, because we don't have that here, right? Like Journey to the Center of the Earth, I heard is great, and
Loved it.
Leagues Under the Sea. I was like, those all sound really cool.
Oh my gosh. The only thing about 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea that I didn't love is that they didn't sell the little fish mermaid creatures as merch. The like my wife and I went on the ride and we loved it, and they had like these little glowy like mermaidy creatures in it. And we got off the ride and we're like, where's the toy? Where's the toy? Because you know the Americans would have like a pile of the toys.
Right.
Here, this is little Glumpo, and he's like the little dude from the ride. It works every time for me. If there's a little like esoteric ride character, I latch onto him. I'm like Skippy and Chubby. I'm like, give me a little weird guy. But there wasn't a lot of that. I did find some stuff of Chandu, the baby tiger.
Okay.
But I found that a lot of the merch in Tokyo Disney Sea focuses on Duffy and Friends.
Right. Yeah, I heard there's not much ride merch, but I mean, I'm not the biggest like ride merch consumer. So
it really depends for me.
Yeah, I'm like when I hear things aren't like great or there's like not great products, I'm like, oh, perfect. My poor little wallet can relax.
And I say that surrounded by Star Cruiser trash, not trash, just stuff, right? Stuff that I love, like.
Your own trash compactor.
I like amazing stuff. Right? I wish I bought
fantastic.
More on that shit.
Yeah, fantastic.
If anybody is a stone from the from the climate simulator, let me know. There's I found like you don't see many like Disneyland 2024 with all the like tacky colors all over it, because that's not really my thing, and I don't think that's really the style there either.
Yeah, I'm totally fine.
But yeah, there wasn't so much ride merch, but the Duffy and Friends stuff. Oof, my wife had a bag that was this big, and she wound up with a ton of extra bags because people were asking her, "Is this a gift?" And she didn't really know what to say, so I think she just said yes. So they gave her like, if she bought 3 keychains, they gave her like 3 bags, thinking that these are all going to be gifts, and it's like a thing to give it in the Tokyo Disneyland bag.
Yeah.
So eventually, I was like, "Hey, honey, do you know why they're giving you like 5 bags? Because they're asking you if it's a gift, and you like bags." And then so the next time I was like, "Oh no, it's okay, daijoubu," and they're like, "Oh, okay." And then she was like, "Oh, I have no idea. I'm buying so much stuff. They think I'm like going on a spree for people." She's like, "Oh no, this is all for me."
Oh yeah.
She was such a powerful shopper. She's got Shelly Mae. She's got Duffy. She's got Stella Lou. She's got Ulu. She's got everybody.
That's awesome. That's good to know. I knew they were popular there because I'm not like they don't do it here as much, right? Like I know of Duffy, but I don't really know like the lore. The Duffy lore.
Duffy. I mean, you see more like people will bring strollers for their Duffy and Friends.
No way.
And there are designated photo locations for Duffy and Friends, because I don't know if it was like a misbehaving thing. I think people were like put him in like a flower thing or something. So they like set up a particular little spot that you can put him with flowers. So that way you're not like shoving him in places he shouldn't be, and you don't get like 100 people shoving their
like a little photo op
out of the thing.
That's awesome.
Adorable. And like everybody's got the little ears. I loved it. And even the just the theming is beautiful. Like the Venice area is beautiful, and the aerial indoor area is more kind of for kids, but the stage show is fantastic and it's beautiful, and the live entertainment is great. It's really, really well done. And I think that the piece that I loved was the unique storytelling. The Society of Explorers and Adventurers
Yeah.
was a really open-ended story, and I felt like I could explore that world and that it was a real world. I feel like I hallucinated it sometimes because I think about like the giant swinging pendulum. I'm like, was that just a trip now? Is that real?
Did someone sneak something in my curry popcorn?
Oh, it honestly felt that way. I was looking at these big, huge steampunk machines, and I'm like, is this real?
Yeah.
I can't wait to go back and be able to actually take it in and appreciate it on a different level.
So
the
cool.
one thing you'll notice too, Disney Sea does not have licensed songs. They have their own songs that they write for all the shows.
Yeah.
And they're great. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
It is hilarious to have Harrison Ford yell at you in Japanese in the Indiana Jones ride.
Is someone doing a Harrison Ford impression too, or is it just a regular Japanese accent?
I think it's whoever he's just speaking fluent Japanese. I didn't detect an accent.
Yeah.
I think it's just whoever dubs him in the movies. They probably had him come in and yell a couple of those phrases.
Yeah.
And pretty great. That's the only indie ride I've rode. The Disneyland one I didn't make it onto.
Okay.
So I did the Japanese one. And we saw the Haunted Mansion Holiday in Disneyland.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
I have a love-hate relationship with Indiana Jones here, because it goes like this, the truck, just to kind of simulate, moving around.
Yep.
But I don't need like my spine being all discombobulated.
Fair.
The last
I feel that way about Matterhorn. I got off Matterhorn. I was like, ow, 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 ow. I think I broke a tooth.
I went on the
Matterhorn.
I went on Matterhorn for the first time, and I felt like Samuel Jackson in Unbreakable, where he's just hitting the sides and just screaming and just all the bones breaking.
It was brutal, but I had kids behind me be like, that sucked. I was gonna be like, you suck.
Yeah.
Shut up.
You guys don't know.
You get the Matterhorn's name out of your mouth. Stop it. Do not talk bad about the Matterhorn.
I've heard people say bad things about Small World, and I'm like, I love Small World. Small World's great.
That is unacceptable in my household. Right. My late Oma loved Small World because she thought it was so sweet. I mean, this woman lived through World War II. Sure. So for her, she's like, makes you think world peace is possible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, that's the point. It's when Richard Sherman said it's a small world as a song is a cry for peace. I'm like, if you actually listen to it and get over the fact that it's like kids singing it, it's a beautiful song and it has such a sweet message. And it's like, forbid we be optimistic for once. Come on, people.
Random question, talking about attractions. Jungle Cruise in Tokyo Disney. Do they do jokes in Japanese?
They would. I mean, I didn't do it. So everything, and I've heard some people complain that not many things are in English there, but the park is in Japan.
Yeah.
So ultimately it's going to cater to Japanese people. Sure. Now you can get maps that are in English.
Okay.
Or at least I could. And there were menus in English as well.
Okay.
Eigo no menu. That's all I got to know. Eigo no menu.
Well, now we have apps and stuff, so I don't even know how.
Yes. Oh, the apps make it really easy.
Yeah.
Translating things is very, very easy. But the food is phenomenal. I had a crazy, like a curry egg rice dish for like, $9 USD.
Yeah.
Really good food, really well presented.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to be in English in the park. So.
Okay. Good to know.
You don't super need it.
No,
I think
we're traveling.
I'm curious how it would feel, how Jungle Cruise would feel, because humor is very, very difficult to translate.
Right. So I'm excited to be on the Jungle Cruise and just see if they do any jokes like skippers do here, because that's one of the biggest draws to the Jungle Cruise. And if they don't, I'd totally be fine. I'm just like curious if they would or not.
I'm not sure. I honestly have not been on it. I didn't go on it.
It's one of my favorites.
I didn't even know it was over there.
I'll report back. I will report back.
Yeah, let me know. I'm curious. Yeah.
What?
And I'm dying to go to Ixpiari, to the shopping area. We didn't really get to explore that last time.
What is that?
So
what is that?
There's a shopping district. It's just a couple of stores. It's not anywhere near the scale of like downtown Disney or Disney Springs.
Oh, okay.
But it's right in the area of the parks there.
Okay. You'll be fine, little wallet. We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
It's gonna hurt. It might hurt as much as the U.S. parks hurt nowadays, though.
Oh, right. I think I was talking to Junk Traders Outpost a while ago, and I'm like, I'm glad they don't have Galaxy's Edge in Japan right now, because then we would all have to go there and live there forever.
Mm. But they're coming out with the life-size mouse droid. I'm bracing myself.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Celebration's going to be wild too, because Celebration's at the end of my trip. So what's good is in the back of my head, I got to go, well, I shouldn't spend money throughout the week.
Psych yourself up. Yeah.
Prior to going to Celebration, because there might be something cool there that I might buy, which would be more expensive because it's a convention. But fortunately, they've been putting out stuff, and I could kind of gauge like what I'm interested in. And I said sometimes those choices are taken away because if it's like limited and I show up and they're gone, I'm like, oh, perfect. You know, Mr. Wild
I would say, like, honestly, don't get your hopes up too much because people can get real cutthroat about that merch.
Yeah.
So like, you know, be like, yeah, I kind of want that, but man, I've seen people just melt down over not getting the panel or the thing they want. It's like, that's a reality of these shows that are arguably oversold.
Yes.
And you just can't get everything to everybody, but you're still charging a ton of money. So
it's not my first rodeo to a Celebration, and so I'm aware, and that's what we've been doing on the channels, telling people like what to be aware of, and that's going to be one of those things where they're finally putting out merch, but they're limited runs. And unless you're gonna
expectations.
Yeah, if you're gonna stomp over people or throw some elbows, maybe, but it's not even.
Yeah, let's not do a Tickle Me Elmo over this. Let's not do a Cabbage Patch Kids over this. Like,
I forgot about Tickle Me Elmos. My goodness.
Oh my gosh.
I stood in line with my brother-in-law for Tickle Me Elmo back in the day.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, my mom got us, my sister and I, Furbies. I kind of wish I still had them because I loved that they were weird and creepy.
I have them in the store still. I'm pretty sure you can.
But I like the analog face. I didn't like the little digital eyes.
Digital. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I liked the little like view kind of like. Yeah, I liked the little dead-eyed stare they give you. I kind of loved it. But I also had like that Teddy Ruxpin as a kid. Oh yeah. We were way off topic there.
Yeah, we're aging ourselves. You're like, oh yeah, my Etch a Sketch in my life, right?
I loved Light
Bright. I never had one. I always the commercials were great though. The commercials were great.
Oh, bringing it to Japan, Tamagotchi.
Oh,
or Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi. It's a pun on egg and friend. Tomodachi.
Okay.
Is friend, and tamago is egg.
Oh,
so it's kind of a pun on that. Yeah.
They're putting out Star Wars Tamagotchi at Celebration.
That's awesome. My sister had the R2 one. And if you didn't take care of them, Jawa stole them. It was so cute.
Yeah. I remember the R2.
But, you know, Star Wars is something that Disney tried to really push in China and Japan and Korea when the sequel trilogy came out. But there isn't really that generational love that we have in the West for it.
Right.
And I'd even argue European culture in general knows Star Wars really, really well.
Yeah.
But you just didn't get that because it wasn't really China, South Korea, Japan were in different kind of phases developmentally.
Sure.
And just didn't have like the Hollywood cinema coming through in the same way that the US would have had something that I'd say that Star Wars kind of hit the zeitgeist of back when a monoculture was possible, because there were just really the theaters. You didn't really have streaming services. You didn't have all these different things.
Right.
You just had one thing that took over everything. I can only imagine what it was like in like 75.
Yeah.
Trying to get away from Star Wars for a minute, it probably was impossible. Yeah. And it's persisted. So I know that the plans for Galaxy's Edge are either postponed or indefinitely for France. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen in Japan. I'm sure it's a very fair weather thing. It depends on a million and one things.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see where the status of the fandom is, and I wonder if this will boost any interest in Japan. I feel like it's strategic.
Yes.
And Star Wars borrows from Japanese film. Star Wars borrows from Jidaigeki films. Jedi. Yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's a phonetically faux Japanese name, and the rumors were that Toshiro Mifune was supposed to play him, or at least George Lucas had played with the idea. If you look at Darth Vader, he's wearing a kabuto helmet. Yeah. He's a dark samurai essentially. The first lightsaber fight, even if people complain about it now, is very much a samurai style, Jidaigeki style fight with. It's a kendo fight. It's got nuance, and it's not Obi-Wan spins. It's not backflips. And as much as people love that,
Sure.
I like the more kind of structured duel, because for me that's what I did kendo for a while, so that's what a sword fight looks like to me.
Right.
I like that tension so much more than
Yeah. My favorite fight of all time is Obi-Wan and Darth Maul in Rebels.
Ooh,
Just
I have to
that.
see
What is
that.
that like?
I've not seen it.
You haven't seen it?
And I'm not knocking the choreography, because that's very much like a part of the times, right? That was kind of like the style we're talking about, like post Matrix,
Well, I'm
kind of, or like right around that time.
well, in Star Wars Rebels, you said you haven't seen it.
I haven't.
Okay, I won't spoil it.
Started it. I couldn't get into it. I feel like a bad fan, but I might try watching it with my wife.
It's like
because
a
she
minute
really
long.
loves like Ahsoka and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a minute long. It goes back to that samurai style, and it's just so.
I
it's so
love
good.
that.
Yeah, it brought me back into the animation because I was like, wait a minute, there's another Darth Maul Obi-Wan meetup. I mean, it's spoilers, but I mean, it's like
Ooh,
10
yeah.
years old at this point. But
Yeah,
I'll send you the
yeah.
clip because it changed my
sounds
perspective
amazing.
on like going back to the animation and how seriously we were taking it at the time. So yeah.
And I think you saw a lot of those influences return with The Mandalorian, going back to its Western roots,
Yes.
where the lone gunman comes from the Ronin style of Jedi films. So if you haven't, I'm sure you have, but just to the royal you to listeners, you haven't seen something like The Hidden Fortress. That is one of my favorite films, not only because of how it's shot. You get those wipes that are very Lucas.
Yeah.
But and you get a feisty princess, and you get like a tall, smarmy guy, and kind of a rounder, shorter guy. You see that what kind of made it interesting for me is that it gave you the perspective of the peasants. So it gives you the perspective of like the droid equivalents, right? That's kind of the person. That's the POV for episode 4. Is you see these droids like, oh no, trying to just these normal people trying to get through their day, and now you have these farmers caught up in this war with this princess who's hitting people with a stick and all sorts of bananas stuff. But the way it is shot, and it's so lush and gorgeous, that I really recommend people see it to get the flavor of where a lot of the westerns and Jirageki and where Star Wars kind of intersects with each other.
So cool. Yeah. And I'm so happy that they're even doing another season of Star Wars Visions. I know it's not everyone's favorite, but I just love the storytelling that they have there. I'm not, like I said before, I'm not into anime, but I really like the storytelling and expanding the Star Wars universe. I'm hoping that they'll say something is canon from that, because they're creating such cool stuff from those shows. Or like there was even talks of spinning off one of those shows into its own show. Like I think it was like the ninth Jedi, I think was one of them they were considering.
Is it the Kybers changing colors and all that? Yeah, like that was some cool lore, right? It's really fun. Cool. And I think with that, it allows a little bit of a wider range of artistic interpretation from different creative teams.
Yes.
And that's, I think, very good for the franchise. As much as we've seen really strong direction, I think having different voices creating stuff, sometimes it's not going to work.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. There's stuff you can just not watch. There's stuff you can just stop watching. Did you know? If you hate something, you can stop watching it.
No, I like to complain and attack people about it and make sure that they only agree with me.
Star Cruiser.
Yeah. Check out our last episode where we talk about the Star Cruiser. Yeah.
Shameless plug for Halcyon Days, which met its Kickstarter goal.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah. No. I think it's really good to have those different creative voices and different cultural voices, because it goes back to what Star Wars was originally inspired by, those samurai films. That's why it fits so beautifully. That's why you see the Darksaber and you're like, katana, and it fits. And the Jedi robes are essentially what people were wearing in Kurosawa films, because they were based on traditional Japanese clothing with a spin. And that's really fun. I mean, look at Darth Maul and tell me that's not a little kabuki inspired.
Yeah, good point.
Just a little bit, right? Just a little bit.
Yeah. I'm excited to see the costuming that comes out of it, because I'm curious if like there's any local Japanese fans who are Star Wars fans who also do like crazy elaborate cosplay. I'm curious what their take on it's gonna be versus like how we're coming. So I'm very excited just to see where the Japanese, the locals, the fans will do there.
I love seeing that. I think
Because I've seen them just do other conventions, and it's amazing. So I'm curious to see
Oh
what the
yeah,
Star Wars
oh yeah, the
side.
cosplay is amazing there, and you'll see too. Like there, for a while, there've been some toy lines and stuff of Vader as more of a samurai. And it's a
Yes.
fantasy spin on it,
Sure. Yeah.
but it's a beautiful spin on it.
Yeah.
Or you'll see like a Yoshimitsu style character, but it's a stormtrooper, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's just something people like to play with, these alternative versions of characters.
Yeah, I love
So
it.
I'm thrilled to see the cosplay and droids and just all that kind of stuff. When you see that much creativity in one place and it's now multicultural,
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see what percentage of fans are from Japan and how many are Westerners traveling. Like that's
Yes.
what's really curious to me, and just how it'll be presented.
Yeah. I'm so excited. And like I was telling Eli,
I'm excited for you.
yeah, it was like we were like 20 days out, and I'm like, it's not hitting me yet. But like having these conversations, I'm like, why am I still here?
It'll hit you when you wake up on the plane and go, I'm still on this damn plane.
Yeah, I know. I'm not looking forward to it. That's like the hardest part, is just still anticipating landing and getting there. But it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And just this conversation has definitely brightened my excitement for getting
I'm
there.
so glad. And I think a lot of people get really hung up on imagining this rigidity that's not expected of foreigners. I prior written up some documents, even in my professional day job,
Yeah.
where a person came to me one day and they're like, I have to go to Osaka to meet with some Toyota employees. I don't work for Toyota. It was some partnership.
Sure, yeah.
And it was like, I don't know what to do. I was looking up how to go, and I don't know anything. And I'm like, hey, guess what? We're gonna have lunch. I'm gonna write up a bunch of stuff for you, and we're gonna get you through it. And even before that, another coworker would come to me and goes, so I have 2 people coming from Tokyo, and our interpreter is going to be here because we needed like a professional interpreter for like the scientific language, which I don't speak that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I speak Japanese, but I couldn't translate like technical
Yeah.
biological language. Nope. But he was like, we just have a day where they're going to be here and we're going to have lunch. Help.
Sure,
And so
yeah.
we welcomed them and we sat down and we had lunch and we chatted about how their flight was, and we talked about movies and just things. And had just been an earthquake in Tokyo, so we talked about it a little bit. And and the guys there were just kind of like, do you like Godzilla movies? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And they're like, you like Studio Ghibli? I'm like, yeah, I love Studio Ghibli. And I told a story about how my dad knows nothing about Japanese culture or anime at all.
Yeah.
But he had seen Ponyo, which he calls Panyo. He'd seen Panyo because he's got grandkids on my stepmother's side. And he was like, I saw that Panyo movie. That was real cute. The little Ponyo, little fish girl swimming around. I'm like, oh, Dad, you mean Ponyo? Yeah, that's a legendary animation house and director. Like Studio Ghibli's phenomenal. You should watch this one, that one, this one. They're recommending those to him because he's a bit of a cinephile. So he had never even considered touching the world of Japanese animation, and probably considered it to be for kids.
Sure.
And didn't realize that Ghibli's work is it's a medium. It's not a genre.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You can see, Princess Mononoke has some horrific violence, which is very effective. And then you have Ponyo, which is about a little fish girl eating ham.
Yeah.
So it's like, you get very different.
We watched Ponyo.
Hell's Moving Castle's my favorite. Yeah.
We watched Ponyo recently, and I was like, I've never seen it before. I'm like, what a fever dream this movie is.
It's trippy, right? There's
trippy.
the giant Kate Blanchett woman in the ocean, and Liam Neeson's walking around with and the voice cast is great. They get really good, well-known performers who really care about the characters, and the whole John Lasseter thing aside, I do give him credit for bringing those films and localizing them in a very respectful way. Even if some of the older dubs are really good too, I have to admit that I don't think those films would have reached the mainstream success. I don't think we'd have Ghibli Fest and stuff like we do now if they weren't exposed to the Western audience through him working with Disney and Pixar to help that distribution happen. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
No,
I'll just give him that, I guess. And I mean, Totoro. Who doesn't love Totoro?
Yeah, me and my daughter watched that recently too, and she was fell in love with the little girls and just the magic. It's really cool. Even
Spirited Away. I can only imagine I'm so glad Spirited Away got the accolades that I think Princess Mononoke really did deserve. They're equally brilliant films, but I think Spirited Away can be very alienating to a Western audience if you don't know about bathhouses or yokai. Or any of those things, you're just going to be like, what? And maybe that adds to it, right? Maybe that adds to the surreality. But Spirited Away has such a it is the most distinctly Japanese of all the movies. I kind of say like Spirited Away and like Breath of the Wild kind of remind me of each other because they're so distinctly Japanese. And there's a lot that you wouldn't get, but I think that adds to the dreamlike vibe quite a bit. Where there's the two witches and you get just all this wild imagery that you would never see. It probably looks very foreign with everything being kanji. It's just odd.
Did you watch the most recent Ghibli movie? What is it called? The butterflies, fireflies. Oh, I can't remember what it's called.
I haven't. I'm a little bit behind, unfortunately.
Sure, I watched it, and wow, do you want to just be depressed and sad? Watch that one.
Oh, you're not? Are you talking about Grave of the Fireflies?
What was it called? What did you say?
That's an older film. Grave of the Fireflies.
Is
maybe
it older?
Not.
I felt maybe it recently came to
the
Netflix.
One about the bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an older one. Yep. But I do know that film. Yeah, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
If you talk about like, we could go on a whole tangent about like collective cultural traumas. Do you want to learn about how FF7 is about the Tokyo Electric Power Company?
I was like, I know there's a message here, but I don't know about the history, but it's bad, and I know it's bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think even playing Breath of the Wild, I was talking to my sister about it because there's like actual diesel in that. There are actual ninja in that look distinctly more Japanese. The villages are very Japanese. The music has a lot of Japanese instrumentation.
Yeah.
And I noticed like there's just this deadness to the world and a lot of ruins, and I haven't found anything to support this, but it really struck me as something that would only happen after the Tohoku earthquake. And just towns being wiped out and just little pieces of ruins remaining. It really, and I could be interpreting it in my own way, but that was such a massively traumatic incident that occurred, and Western media kind of hyper-focused on a steam explosion as opposed to 30,000 people disappearing and being lost. So that was a point of frustration for me, but I guess nuclear thing go boom is much scarier and sells better. Looking at what do I know? I just, did a whole lot of dosimetry. What do I know? So it to me, that really struck me as a reflection. It potentially could be a reflection on the amount of loss that was experienced.
For sure.
And it's very coastal. A lot of that world is coastal as well. So it was like, it just kind of struck me as that. So I think you see a lot of those things reflected. I mean, we wouldn't have Gojira without the nuclear bombs.
Right.
Godzilla films exist because of those anxieties.
Correct.
And that is fascinating how those acts of tremendous cruelty and violence can inspire such art that roll into what we have now.
Yeah. And just like something beautiful coming out of those things, something, artistic and something creative that could come out of these events.
Goes right back to Star Wars being anti-imperialist. I think I'd seen someone say like about the Star Cruiser, I don't know who it was, but they're like, oh, that was the first time I've seen an anti-colonialist message in Star Wars when you take back Gaia's artifact. And I was like, have you seen Star Wars? All of it. Like, not shaming anybody, but like the message the whole time is that like imperialism bad. And I think there's some really great narrative work around like Wyloth and the Twilight people and that kind of stuff.
The Empire definitely suppresses a lot of communities and planets and just overtakes them. And
our season 2.
I'm so excited. Throw some
bricks.
Let's throw some bricks. And then seeing the Gorman massacre is going to be crazy.
It's going to be like a brace yourself, but I really can't think of a more timely message, honestly.
It's definitely like hitting home for current events. For sure.
I agree. And I think those things reflect our world so much, right?
Yeah.
If you look at where we initially come from, talking about Star Wars, so much of it coming out of the Vietnam War and being moved through it all the way to the early 2000s with prequels. Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool.
Although I will side eye. I forgot. I finally saw a video of somebody talking about it. The Trade Federation aliens in the beginning of episode 1, being like, "What's with those accents?"
He's in the ventilation shaft.
You're like I can't mimic it.
Yeah.
I can't like it's. I'm like, is this? I'm sorry. Are those yellow face aliens?
Yeah.
Like, am I totally overreaching, or were they suspicious?
Oh no. I mean, even as a youth, I'm like, that's a choice just to make him completely Asian. Yeah.
You're like, You're like, they're doing the accents, and they got the robes, and like their eyes. I'm like, no, guys, I thought we were over this. I thought we weren't still doing this.
Oh, we're still doing it. We're still doing it. But yeah, hey,
yikes!
I consume. I don't make the rules. I'm not part of any.
Just make them British, guys. Just make them British. It's okay. Just make them British. Like, let actors use their own accents, or make the weird aliens British. Okay, I don't have the solution, but I'm glad finally somebody spoke up about it, because for a long time is like, I think these aliens are like very odd Asian caricature stereotypes. But I don't feel like I should be the person to be like, hey, does anybody else find this a big, huge issue?
Yeah, it's.
I never want to like speak for somebody. Yeah.
I'm not
I can only
like...
speak for the one background lesbian kiss in Rise of Skywalker.
Kind of out of focus. Yeah,
you can just blur them out in other countries.
Yeah,
just cut away real fast.
It's I look at those things and just laugh, just because I'm like, someone just not thinking.
Somebody didn't think about it, right? Like nobody was like, I can't wait to make these horrible caricatures. They just kind of did it.
Yeah.
Didn't like, think about it. Like,
maybe we're the racist ones having a problem with it.
I forgot which law it is. Never attribute to malice what could be attributed to stupidity. I think somebody just didn't think about it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but there were bigger issues in the movie. So now that we've all like processed Jar Jar, we could go back and think about
how great it would be if George is like, they're not Asian enough. More Asian, please.
Can you make the eyes smaller? You're like, George, no!
No, George.
No!
George, hold on 1 second. Early 2000s was a different time, people.
Yeah, no, I feel, knowing that it's been like 25 years.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
It doesn't make it okay.
Oh, no,
but
of course not. Of course not.
At least we could be like,
yeah.
Okay. Maybe we shouldn't.
We'll learn. We learn.
We won't do that again.
We learn from our mistakes.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Before we end, what's your favorite snack at Disneyland, Tokyo, or Disney Sea?
Oh, I had. I felt kind of weird eating it, but it's Chandu's tail. It's Chandu's tail, and it's like,
which one's Chandu?
Like this. He's the little tiger with the turban.
Oh, the tiger with the turban. Okay.
He's got a little gem on his turban. When I wear him to the parks, people are like, "Excuse me." Like the girls in the Japan pavilion are typically like, "Oh, excuse me."
Yeah.
Where did you get your little tiger? I'm like, "Oh, Tokyo."
Oh, nice.
It's great. Actually, I will tell you my favorite snack, but my favorite thing was I wore my gelatoni ears to Epcot in February when I went with my wife, and this lady. Can I drop an F-bomb or should I help self-censor?
I can edit it. Go ahead and do it.
You
and
can
I'll beep it.
You put a little funny thing over a little gelatoni.
I'll do R2D2 scream.
And this lady goes, "Excuse me," and she's probably like 50-something-year-old lady. She's really energetic and fun.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Where did you get your gelatoni ears?" And I go, "Oh, Tokyo." And she goes, "Thank you," like that. And I was like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "I'm sorry." I'm sorry they didn't have them in the spring.
Why does she have so much malice?
She was so fired up. Yeah, and I was like, "Oh my God."
Oh my
God. The
gosh,
Chandu tail. Back to the Chandu tail.
Sure.
It was like a chicken curry. Imagine like a chicken salad texture.
Okay.
But it's like a chicken curry.
Okay.
So it's like a pulled chicken with like a curry powder, and then it was in this little kind of like a dumpling-like texture, and it was orange with the little black stripes on it.
Yeah.
Super, super tasty. I hope they still have it. I don't know if it was an event, but that was my absolute favorite snack because it was like kind of more of a meal.
Yeah.
Really. It was like a lot of food, and I think it was like 400 yen or 500 yen or something.
I looked up a lot of the food in the parks, and then I realized that it's going to shift over like now. and I'm like, oh, well, a lot of research of, what's going to be there. And then I have to
Yep.
go back
Yep. All the
through.
seasonal.
I go back through.
You will not go hungry.
Oh,
Like,
no,
don't worry.
no,
You
I'm
will be
not.
extremely well fed.
Yeah,
Extremely
for
well
sure.
fed.
I was
yeah,
trying to
and
target
no
like
as well.
certain places, just in case. Like, oh, that
yes.
sounds really good. I definitely want to go there. I could probably skip there,
Yes.
but I have to do
Yep.
my research again. Just
I did not have a bad meal in those parks. And
know.
we ate at a couple different places.
Yeah.
I know we ate at the little Cape Cod place. We thought it was very charming because we love Cape Cod. So to see the facsimile of Cape Cod was very cute.
Yeah.
It's fun to be like, oh, it's just like Cape Cod of all places. Okay. the vacation destination of Massachusetts. No, we love the Cape. I think it's a very like quintessential coastal town, and Cape Cod just sounds great.
Yeah.
Phonetically, so I think it was really cute to do like the little windmills and lighthouses and the big huge ocean liner. There's some wacky stuff over in sea. You're gonna love it.
Oh, I can't. I'm probably gonna fall in love, and I'm definitely gonna make time to go back. I know that. I already know that in my heart. I could already feel it. That's what's gonna happen because I've been wanting to go for so long. Speaking of long, we probably should end because there's time constraints on the podcast side, so I want to make sure I don't have to split it into.
It's true. We could yap forever, but I hope I addressed your actual questions.
No, you definitely did.
Made life a little easier for you, and maybe some other folks as well. If they listen, hopefully they won't feel like that. Like I said, the rigidity of Japanese culture will not be projected upon you. But if you ever want some phrases, we can go real quick. Ohayo gozaimasu. Good morning. Only use that until about 10 o'clock or 10:30.
Ohayo gozaimasu. Okay.
Ohayo gozaimasu. Konnichiwa. You know that one. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Okay.
Yep. And then later on in the day, I think it's around like 6 o'clock. Konbanwa. Good evening.
Oh, konbanwa. Konbanwa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sumimasen. Excuse me. And when I say the N is like an NM combination. You just kind of close your mouth.
Okay.
So when in doubt, make more of an N sound. So sumimasen.
Sumimasen.
Yep, that's excuse me. Yep, perfect. That's great. And arigatou gozaimasu.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And do itashimashite. You're welcome. But you're more likely to say, thank you.
Perfect. Well, if you didn't get anything from this conversation, but those phrases at the end, thanks for staying.
Just cram those in. Yes.
Just cram those in.
Eigo no menu. English menu.
Or the point number. Those are always good to know too.
Yep.
But Jay, thank you so much for being on this podcast. It's been super helpful for me. Where can people find you?
Jaye42, Blue Sky, Instagram. That's usually where I just post pictures of my costumes.
Awesome. And definitely check out those. The stories are great. The posts are great. Always have a great laugh.
And there's droids. I love droids.
And maybe if you're open, if someone has a question, are they okay to like DM you about Japan or anything else?
Anytime. If you have a question or there's something that we didn't cover, or you're losing sleep over something, or if you're there and something's freaking you out, send me a message. Might not get it immediately because of time differences, but I'd happily go over some phrases with you or talk about some stuff. Make sure you have some apps that you need and go from there. And remember, a lot of cash still. A lot of things are cash still.
Yep. Well, thank you.
Less so after COVID, but still.
Yeah. I've heard it's a heavier cash. Not sure why. Because they're so technologically, advanced and based.
Yeah.
So,
you find like little shops where you're just going to throw over some yen. When in doubt, just hand them a bunch of bills and they can make the change correctly for you. The numbers can be very difficult if it's said very quickly for foreigners.
Yeah.
Don't sweat it. You're going to do fine. I hope everybody's a wonderful time in celebration. And maybe we'll make it to one of these days.
Hopefully.
We'll find out.
We will find out. Well, thank you so much for everyone who tuned in to this episode of the Reigncore Show, talking about Star Wars Celebration and traveling to Japan. And with that being said, we all hope that you have a great rest of your galactic day. Punch it, Chewie. Boom. We're out of here. Bye, guys.